Hello, hello. So going to be doing a live reading here this afternoon, specifically geared around getting ready for this week. It's election week, so while we're hanging out waiting for people to pop on, I'm just going to light a couple candles and start calling our guides into this space here. And you know, if you're watching this after the live recording, I just want to really encourage you to, if you can, you know, find your way to like stable seat. If you're driving, obviously you just keep driving, but find somewhere where you can kind of be grounded with your feet on the floor, maybe sitting on the ground. I've been really leaning into lately how like really simple practices can actually help us to connect more with our bodies, with spirit, and how it doesn't always have to be so like huge and complex and intense. So yeah, wherever you are at right now, get started here in just a minute, but you know, take a moment to check in with your body. Check in with your breath, check in with how you are showing up in this moment without any sense of like expectation. Like it does not have to be, you know, sometimes I think with these check-ins we're like, oh, you know, I need to feel a certain way. You don't. You get to show up exactly as you are right now. If you're distracted, hello, hello. If you're feeling overwhelmed, welcome to the party. That's why we are here. That's why we are doing this and connecting. So, yes, hi Michelle, hi Sarah. It's good to have you here. So, yeah, I felt inspired to go ahead and do this today. I usually do my readings on Tuesdays. And for those of you who are watching this who want more of this, want to make this like a regular part of your self-care and deepening connection with spirit, you can sign up for my email list in the link in my bio, and you'll get one of these readings every single week. I don't always go live on Instagram for them, and if I do, they're not always like the full reading. So just so you know, that's a place to go for that. But I was inspired this morning to go ahead and do it today instead of tomorrow, because as we know, there's a lot of intensity and energy leading up to tomorrow. I think anyone who identifies as being somewhat empathic or sensitive or in the healing world, or I mean, really also like parents, I don't know that anybody is really getting away with not experiencing the intensity in our world right now. And so it felt like let's go ahead and just kind of get ahead of this a little bit. And of course, there's always a sense too of feeling like spirit has something for us right now. And so, you know, just kind of following that inspiration. So, hey, Holly, good to see you. So I will say as I start pulling cards, if you have any particular questions that you would like me to pose as we dive in here, please feel free to let me know. Apparently my cat Misa also wants to be involved in today's reading, so if you hear her in the background, if she walks by, I'll show you so that you can put a furry face to the meow. But yeah, if any questions pop up, please feel free to share them in the chat. I'm always love doing this live on Instagram because it gives that opportunity. If you're not familiar with collective readings, I believe the three of you on here are, but if you aren't familiar, if you're watching this later with collective readings, the way that this works is that I just tell my guides like, hey, I'm doing this collective reading right now. I don't know who's eventually going to be watching it, but you do. So any messages that come through, just trusting that if you're watching this right now, that there is something in it for you. So, whew, we got a jumper already. Okay, so we're just gonna start right here, Mystic of Vials. So I am using the Numinous Tarot today. So for those of you who are familiar with more traditional decks, we just wanna translate this real quick. So this is the King of Cups. I actually pulled this a couple of times in the last week. I think this is such an important energy to be working with right now because the King of Cups is the container holder. So you see him here holding this bottle here. This is all about how do we create containers for ourselves to be with this wide range of emotions that's here right now. I mean, we can be experiencing anything from hope to terror. And sometimes they can go back to back, side by side, right? And the King of Cups knows how to work with these rhythms. The King of Cups is an archetype that embodies the part of us that knows how to work with these rhythms, okay? Our nervous system is very cyclical. It is very spiralic. It understands intensity. It understands the swinging pendulum, So we can go into the part of ourselves that is already wanting to create this container and say, okay, I'm here and I'm going to show up to this process. So what this actually looks like, I mean, this can be very different from person to person, right? But when we're talking about creating a container for our emotions to be in, I'll say, like, for me, one of the best containers I can create for myself is setting aside time on a regular basis to journal. Whether it's like first thing in the morning or like just scheduling time in. Now that for me is because journaling is a way that my emotions feel safe to come through. So when I say it's going to be different for everyone, this is a big piece of like the embodied tarot work, is acknowledging that like the way that you feel safest expressing emotions is going to be different from the way that I feel safest. But when we create parameters around which we say, like, this is the time, this is the container in which I am going to allow these fluctuations to happen. The thing with cups, too, it is really an acknowledgement that, like, this is some deep stuff right now, okay? This is like deep ocean work. We are not just on the surface of the waves floating along. Like, we are doing some really deep ocean work right now. So finding what we need in order for our nervous system to feel safe to do that work, So, I mean, this can be, I actually did a post about this earlier today, like the small choices that we can make, the small things that we have control over. Like when I put on this sweater today, because it's really like soft and cozy, and even though I feel a little bit warm, I know that like having my body be held by something soft is going to help my nervous system to regulate. Drinking your favorite tea, like this is the time. This is the time to do the things that allows you to be with the intensity of it, even just a little bit more, because we're not going to be perfect in this, y'all. Like, we're just not. We're not going to be able to process everything as it's coming up right now. It's huge, it's collective, it's big. We're going to continue to process together with these containers for a while. But if we can start to find the little things that create containers for ourselves to have big emotions, to acknowledge, really just acknowledging it first. Like, that's one of the biggest coping strategies right now. And I want to really honor that, like, if your heart, if your body has been saying, like, turn it off, shut it down, I need to avoid this, trust that there is some wisdom in that, but make the choice consciously. Like, let's not have it come from a super reactive place where, we're avoiding without recognizing that we're avoiding, right? Like, it feels very different to say, I'm going to avoid this, I'm not going to pay attention to it, than to say, like, I see that I need a break from this right now. I see the part of me that needs a break from this right now. So King of Cups, really big energy here to support us right now. And I'm getting the sense actually that this wants to show up for us as an anchor, kind of like I was saying in the beginning, to remind us that we all have parts of ourselves that know how to move emotion through our bodies, how to be with the intensity that's here right now. We have it already, okay? Like, it's already, it's coming along for the ride. We just might not always be accessing that particular part because there's a lot of other parts that are coming up that are scared and worried and concerned, and for very valid reasons. So that's this kind of anchoring feeling. So I want to ask just a more specific question, kind of looking ahead. And now actually, as I do this, I want to acknowledge I very rarely ever ask questions about the future, because the future is changeable and what we are doing right now is impacting it. So any sense of kind of like fortune telling that comes along with this for me isn't so much about this is definitely what's going to happen, but like this might be a way of interacting with energies as they come in the future, so that we can perhaps step into what is meant for us with more fulfillment and more in a more soul-centered way. So just that little disclaimer there, because I did get a question that I wanted to pose, which is that how do we move forward through the end of the year and specifically into next year, like acknowledging the massiveness of the transitions that we've gone through, that we continue to go through. Yeah, how do we work with moving forward? Okay, this is beautiful. So the Sun card came up here. So the Sun is a card all about being seen and allowing things to be seen, shining the light on what is ready to kind of come forward and be witnessed and meet the world in a bigger way. So on an individual level, this could be taking something that has been in here, a love, a passion, something that has been inside, and starting to actually show it to the rest of the world. On a collective level, I love this card too. On a collective level, I think we are seeing we are seeing the beginnings of what it's like to really shine the light into both the hard places and the magical places. You know, a lot of healers have been talking this year about like we are collectively waking up. We are collectively showing up in ways that we never have before. And I think it is so, so true. But I actually think that it's just beginning, and that next year is going to be this really big time of not just unearthing the things that like are ready to be created in the world, but like really looking at the stuff that we as humanity have been avoiding. And have been avoiding in a reactionary way, not because we need to choose to take care of ourselves sometimes, you know, to kind of come back to that in the King of Cups there. So the Sun is such a beautiful thing, you know. In more traditional interpretations, the Sun, it tends to be this card of like of joy, of happiness and expression, and it can be. But what it's really about actually is this third eye situation. What it's really about is opening up to this part of ourselves that can see beyond what is physically in front of us. Opening up and allowing that third eye to just like kind of shine its light over everything with this clarity, with this such, I mean, just it starts to peel back layers, right? So we're not just looking at the masks on top of things. We're actually looking at what's real and what's here, which is never, ever black and white, right or wrong, this or that. And I didn't pull it, but like judgment was just popping up into my mind right there, because I think that's such a huge energy right now. In this deck, it's called Awakening. And I love that comparison, because there is this like just huge zooming out that can happen when we're ready to actually sit with like, this is where we're at as humanity. This is where we're at. Let's look at it. Let's look at the stuff that's hard to look at, and let's look at the fact that like every single one of us has like magical abilities of some sort. Every single one of us has things that the world needs right now. Like, can we see that? Can we start to let that be seen from inside of us out? Yeah. So what's coming? What's coming is an opportunity, it sounds like. What's coming is a real opportunity to open up in new ways and to really let ourselves be witnessed within it. And the last feeling I want to just share with you as I was going to the deck is this sense of like there's something that wants to kind of offer a foil to that. And so what came up is the Five of Vials. Vials are cups, so we have another cup coming up. Reversed. So Five of Cups is a card that acknowledges grief, that acknowledges loss and the emotion of emptiness, of grieving. Yeah, but when it comes up reversed, it's a really beautiful opportunity to acknowledge that grief never happens without love, that the only reason that we get to grieve is because there has been love. Does it mean that grief is suddenly easy and a hunky-dory beautiful thing? No. Are we going to be grieving a lot as we move into this phase of like being real about what's happening with humanity? Yeah, it's going to be intense. It's going to bring emotions to the table. And Five of Cups, I mean, the imagery, I'll show it to you right side up so you get a sense here. It's like we have these cups on the table, right? And we want to give space for the cups on the table. But when you flip this upside down, the focus is kind of pulled to these two whole vials over here. So it's a card of the both and. It's a card of the like, yes, let's give space to process grief. Let's find our containers in which we can process the emotions that are showing up. And let's not forget that behind every grief, in front of and behind, like surrounding every moment of loss is love. And love is magic. Love is the greatest creative force in the universe, right? So when we can sit with that, then there's the opportunity to both work through and move through the intensity of emotions that are coming up right now around this election, around the pandemic, around so many transitions that are happening in our society, around the Black Lives Matter movement and the huge amount of voter suppression that's happening right now, okay? Like this card can also have a piece of anger in it, and I think that's because so often anger is an emotion that's kind of left off the table, that's like not allowed. We want to allow all of it and keep in mind that the reason that it is there, that's not phrased quite right, hold on. The reason that it's important to look at it in the first place is because of the magical, loving, expansive potential of those emotions, of letting them process through us, of letting our bodies, I think we're back. Yeah, so just finding a tall spine without a whole lot of effort to it. We don't need to be forceful about this. This week we are definitely in a space of gentleness. If it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, you can, or maybe just soften your gaze and fix it on one point where you can kind of let it rest for a moment. And because we're working with the third eye here with the sun and with creating this container for ourselves to really experience our emotions along the whole spectrum of emotion, want to do a practice of alternate nostril breathing, but we're going to do it in a little bit of a different way that I find more grounding. I know Michelle knows knows this one. It's magical. So wherever you're at right now, just placing both hands on your legs or on the floor. If you're sitting on the ground, you can go to the ground. And with your gaze soft, just take a few natural breaths just to start to tune in with what the rhythm of your breath is right now without trying to force anything. It doesn't need to be a particular way. It can be fast, it can be slow, it can be shallow, it can be deep. It can vary. Let it be, but just start to notice it. And then starting to breathe, imagining, starting with the left side, imagining that your inhale is coming up from the earth through the whole left side of your body, all the way up to that third eye point right between your eyebrows. And then as you exhale, it's traveling down from that third eye point, the whole right side of the body, and into the earth. And then we'll flip it. Inhale from the right side, up from the earth to the third eye. Exhale down from the third eye, down the whole left side of your body. So continuing here, and yes, this is mostly our imagination, but our imagination is a powerful thing. So we don't need to actually plug the nostrils to kind of move energy in this way that alternate nostril breathing does. So we can think of this as just alternate energy channel breathing here. So continuing at your own pace. And you may start to tap into, as you breathe here, a rhythm in your body, a rocking. Maybe it's front to back or side to side. Rocking is one of our nervous system's most fundamental ways that it has of self-soothing, So I want to just encourage you to find a rhythm as you breathe here, to let your whole body rock. It can be very small, doesn't have to be big, and to just keep breathing, inhaling up one side and down the other. As you do this, energy is going to start to gather at the third eye point. As that energy gathers, you might begin to imagine a cone of brilliant blue light extending from this place actually just behind your forehead and projecting out into the world around you. And trust, as this happens, there may be images, there may be colors, there may be sensations or shapes. It's a huge range of things that can happen, that can be a part of what we are invited to witness right now. But this is the question for you. For your own body, your own life, your own nervous system, and your role in the collective right now. What are you being invited to witness? What are you being invited to witness right now? You can stay with the breath, or if it feels like too much to track, go back to a natural rhythm and stay with this third eye point. Trust your own process here. Now we're going to imagine that this cone that extends out from the third eye into the world around us, as though it just tipped down, to gaze into our own energetic being. And the question to ask here is, what inside of me is ready to be witnessed? What inside of me is ready and wants to be witnessed right now? Take a few more deep breaths and allowing whatever answers are coming up to these questions to come up as they will. Trust your body. Trust your energy body. Trust this breath. Before we close here, you're welcome to continue the breath, to continue your own energetic explorations. I'm just going to open a Reiki channel to those of you who are watching right now and to those of you who will watch this at some point to receive from this pure and infinite pool of healing energy. Wherever you are in time and space, knowing right now your being is being offered the opportunity to drink in Reiki, to drink in this brilliant creative life force. The long comes my love and my gratitude for each one of you who is in the world doing a piece of the soul work that is needed for our collective evolution and expansion. Please feel free to sit in this space and receive for as long as feels good to you. And a reminder, if you aren't already on the email list where these videos go out every single week, that link is in my bio, and I am here for you if you have any questions. Lots of love, my dears.